record us. Welcome to this this week's Power Hour, where we're going to discuss when to say no, learning how to say no. So thanks for joining us. And hi, Melinda, lovely to see your face.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Nice to be here.
That's great. So just letting people in as we get started. So joined with Debbie Roberts today. Hi, Debbie. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Katrina. How are you going?
Yeah, good. It's a bit chilly here today in Melbourne, good old Melbourne town. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about, how to say no, when to say no, some practical solutions around saying no. It's all very common for bookkeepers to just get into the groove of saying yes to everybody. And, my mentor had the phrase of, it's saying yes to anybody with a pulse and a purse. And I think that phrase has gone around quite a bit. I think, Deb, you've said that phrase a few times. So is that a mentor phrase that was given to you as well?
It must be. I can't remember where I've heard that, but I know it's absolutely true. It's very, very common too, for people, bookkeepers, to keep saying yes. And that's when you're obviously choosing your client or meeting with a prospect. You don't have to say yes to every prospect that comes across your path. Yeah,
that's right. And we will work our way through how that looks and, what some improvements are around that. Melinda, do you want to actually give us your version of, are you struggling with this particular topic that you can't say no to people?
I think I was in the beginning, but when we first started our business, we had another, my partner and I both had another job. So we were like, no, we're going to take the good ones on, even though we got a few that were a bit dodgy. I let one go a little, probably a couple of weeks ago, only because I kept chasing them up and wanting, dare I say, receipts for any invoices, particularly dodgy ones that had like MIS on the bank and it had 4,000, and I was like, what's that? Can I have an invoice? I want to see the GST, I want to see the breakdown. Oh no, it's on my bank statement, should be fine. I'm like, no, actually, I want to see the invoice for that. I mean, really, I want to do this. I said, it's my license and everything. And I kept pushing back, and I pushed back in the fact that, no, it's our license, and at the end of the day, if something happens and we have to get audited and we push that through, there's absolutely no way I want to ruin anything or, lose anything because somebody doesn't want to play the right way, doesn't want to do things the right way. And we sort of go, no, they're too much of a hassle, they're too much of a heartache. And you know what it's like having to get to this point in life when you've got your business, and how much effort and energy you put into getting your license. It's hard work getting to this point, and no, you don't. I don't think you should compromise.
That's a really great example of when to say no and when to let them go. As well. So. And there, of course, there's other examples of when to say no. And I know you, Deb, that you summarised this, or you wrote a blog, recently around this particular topic. So, what was your impression in saying no? What inspired you to write this blog?
Yeah, and I think I definitely struggled with saying no to clients in particular. And they'd make all sorts of requests at any time of the day. I hadn't set boundaries. They'd ring on weekends, and I thought that the way I thought it was right that I just say yes to everyone. Oh yes, I can do that because I'm providing you an awesome service, and yes, I'll do that. And when do you want that done by, and all that sort of thing. But thinking about their needs, and I think I had an epiphany where I thought, well, I got tired really, because I was running around from pillar to post at everyone's beck and call, and they were all taking a piece of me, and it was invading my life. It was invading my family life and my family time. And it was, I just started to go, no, this is not okay. And then I had, and what I wrote in the blog was I had a new client. So it started this new client. She was a rescue job. She was behind with her work and, you know, signed up on the Friday, and she expected me to work all weekend, you know, because suddenly it was a priority for her. She was 4 years behind, and for the past 4 years, she's just gone along, you know, in a cloud or something, or a head in the sand, thinking that she'll deal with that later. Suddenly the ATO is knocking on her door. And then it now becomes a priority for her. And she said, when can you start? And I said, well, I'll start that next week. And she said, no, I need this done right now. I need you to work on Saturday. And I just said straight out, without even thinking, I said, I don't work on weekends. And she was shocked. And she said, but this is important. This is it. This is what I need. I need this done now. And I said, I understand that, but I don't work weekends. I mean, I did work weekends, but I worked on my business, worked on stuff that was important to me. Anyway, who cares? I did whatever I wanted to on the weekends. And the point is that at that point, I put my foot down and said, no, I am sick and tired of clients neglecting their work. And then when it is a priority for them, they then expect me to work, you know, 24/7 to get them out of the mess that they created. And really, that's just enabling them to continue to behave badly. It's like you, Melinda, you putting your foot down. And if you don't do that, you are enabling them to behave illegally or potentially break the law and potentially put themselves in a vulnerable situation that they're like teenagers, some of them. They don't even realize that, you know, they run around, behave like, you know, uncontrolled kind of thing. And then the police come and arrest them or something, you know. You've just got to keep them in line. And also then I realized I needed to respect myself and put the boundaries in. And that's when my business started to change and I started to get my life back.
It's because it is very common for bookkeepers just to say yes to everything. And if you can imagine, you know, I don't know if you for others that are on the call today or listening in, if that you are in the same boat where you are overwhelmed and burnt out and, you know, got clients that are just not, they don't appreciate you, they're not paying you, they're not, you know, giving you the information when you need it. And you just got more and more clients because you've just kept saying yes and yes and yes and yes. And now your client base is so large that you can't actually keep it under control. And you're only working day by day for whatever needs to be done that day. And you're not actually planning out the rest of your week, the rest of your month, the rest of your business, because all you're doing is waking up in the morning and working. Because what you've created for yourself is this tribe of, you know, or your client base so big that it's just out of control. And you've got clients that are like annual clients or quarterly clients, and like they're so small, and you know, you feel sorry for them, that you want to reduce the price and you want your staff possibly to work on them, but you still won't recover that because, you know, the feelings and the emotions and the guilt, and I haven't done it right, and I haven't done it, you know, I've got to redo it because of this, and, you know, all of those things. So, you know, are there many people on the call today that are experiencing that? I'd love to either get some feedback from either in the chat or, you know, on the Facebook group, or come off mute and give us some, you know, how you're feeling at the moment. Are you in that situation? Is there anyone on the call today that would like to come off mute and talk about what they're experiencing?
Don't be shy. You're amongst friends here. I'm more than happy to share numerous occasions where I really, you know, and I think one of the things that the reason why I kept saying yes and allowing people to do whatever they wanted, really, and tell me when I was going to work, was because I wanted to be a nice person. I think that was like, I didn't want to be seen to be mean. Like that didn't fit comfortably with me. But again, working with Peter Cook as my business coach, I realized that kind of thinking was not very helpful, that it wasn't about being nice or not nice. You know, it's not the black and white thing. It's not the good and the bad or whatever. But it was still important to me. I still wanted to be a nice person and to be seen to be a nice person. And the way I interpreted that then was, okay, I need to say yes all the time. Because otherwise, if I say no, they'll go, oh, well, you're not very nice. So the way I changed the story that was going in my head was, I'm going to run my business more professionally. So when I started, it wasn't about being nice or not nice or whatever. I'm going to run my business more professionally. Now, in order to do that, I need to create some boundaries. And we've also got these systems that they are going to follow. And we've got Receipt Bank or HubDoc where everything gets uploaded. And this is just part of when I onboard a new client, they don't have a choice whether they're doing Receipt Bank or HubDoc or you know, the automations. This is actually part of my tech stack, which is going to enable me to run a business more professionally. Do they want to go on direct debit or not? You know, does that mean I'm a bad person or I'm not a nice person if I put them on direct debits because they don't like direct debits? No, this is how I run my business professionally. And I think that telling myself a different story enabled me to start to push back.
Yeah, and it's planning this out now. Like, you know, and it's great that nobody on the call today is, you know, really struggling with, you know, the overwhelm of, you know, taking on new clients or hasn't got, you know, stories around that. And we'll keep talking our way through it. But we have an opportunity, we have a choice of who we can bring on. And you do get stronger and stronger as you move through your journey. And, you know, Deb and I have had, you know, experienced all the pains in our, you know, the growing pains that we experienced. And we did take on clients and we did it the wrong way and the slow way. So that's why we are here, I guess, now to share, you know, our experience so that you don't actually have to spend a decade to get to that point where I'm going to put my serious hat on and change it. So we're here to hopefully impart some wisdom about, you do actually have a choice. Because if we knew what we got, you know, the feeling that we got to like 10 years down the track of bad clients and doing everything, if we had experienced from then on earlier and had the strength and probably the support, because they, you know, back then there wasn't as much Facebook groups telling you don't have to do it that way, or, you know, mentors or forums or podcasts telling you there's a better way. So to start earlier on in your business to say no to those clients that you feel as if are going to be, you know, the bad clients, the small clients that are like $100 a quarter or something like that. The ones that you feel that you're going to take up a lot of time. We get a lot of gut feeling when we put clients on of how they're going to, how it's going to work. And like the big rescue jobs that we got, it's okay for us to say, I'll want 10 hours up front, which is what the pure bookkeeping system recommends, is that we do invoice up front. So, you know, it's okay to make our choices to make our business stronger, because if that particular client will not pay you 10 hours up front, you can guarantee that they're going to struggle to pay you when you've got the work done. If they're not valuing from the day one that you are going to help them out, after you've helped them out, they're going to value you less because they think they can get away with stuff.
And before you know it, you know, you dig down and you spend 3 weeks digging down into their pile of stuff, which has happened to me on 2 occasions where I actually found out they were trading insolvent by the end of it. And so I got the work done and was able to present that to the administrators, but I didn't get paid.
Yeah, and it wasn't until probably 10 years down the track where I did start to put in a direct debit. So for any new clients, they had to go onto a monthly invoice and a direct debit. It wasn't always a fixed fee, but it was, it was a monthly invoice and a direct debit. And sitting in front of one client, scoping them out and presenting them with the engagement letter and the direct debit form. And he said, no, I can't sign that direct debit form because I don't know I'll have the money in the bank. Well, there's a red flag straight there. And I would have probably accepted that in the early days because meek, mild, you just want to be a people pleaser, as Deb said, and you just want to take everybody on because you need the client. But what you're actually taking on is a world full of pain. So, we're hoping to be able to give you that wisdom earlier on that you have a choice. You can either choose to take that pain on, or you can choose to go, no, you're not the right client for me, so I'm going to continue on down my road. I might not have that income that they might have brought in for the first couple of months. I've got to replace that. I've got to find a client, but it's well worth moving on down the road until you find, and then attract the next client. So knowing, and it's one of the things that I'm going to pop into the chat and on the Facebook, a blog that Deb was referring to in your blog, and which is Know Your Know. So Deb, do you want to perhaps start around the Know Your Know, like identifying who those people are?
Yeah, so this was written a number of years ago now by a guy called Peter Bregman, and it was a blog that I came across which prompted my blog to give my experience of that as well. And I think it's timeless, actually. The principles that he's given in this blog are still just as relevant now as they were a number of years ago. And the Know Your Know, if any of you, or for those that can't access that, he says, Peter says to identify what's important to you and acknowledge what's not. If you don't know where you want to spend your time, you won't know where you don't want to spend your time. Before you can say no with confidence, you have to be clear that you want to say no. All the other steps follow this one. And I think it's a great place to start to work at, identify what's important to you. And that was the point that I got to, where I realized, hang on, I'm being pushed from pillar to post and I'm living everyone else's idea of the way I'm supposed to be living, so, and that's just not okay. So to know what your boundaries are, where you want to spend your time and where you don't want to spend your time. I'd be interested to hear from anyone on the call. Have you worked this out, Melinda? Have you had a think about this? You know what's important to you and what's not, and where your boundaries are?
With some things, definitely. I think with some of the clients. I think, I feel that they come to us for a particular reason, and we sort of get back to them with, this is what needs to happen, etc., etc. And that's come from a number of years, when we were talking earlier before about knowing a client, when you see a client and you get a feel about it, and then you go, no, actually, I want you to do this, this, and this is how we do it, and use these links and do this and this. And when they don't come back, I'll follow them up, and if not, I feel like, okay, you need to go somewhere else. And that's sort of the boundary that I was talking about for us with the clients. That's sort of what we do with that.
Yeah, that's a good example. And there's we can keep developing on this Know Your Know as well. Like for me, it was I wanted them to sign to sign a direct debit form. Otherwise I wouldn't work with you. So I know other bookkeepers, they only will work with Xero or a certain software and a certain document retrieval software. So if you don't jump on board with my practices, then, you know, you're not my ideal client. So bookkeepers are starting to niche in their own boundaries, if you like. So, and if clients don't want to join, you know, this bandwagon of this particular solutions, then that's okay. There's a lot of bookkeepers out there. They can just move on as well.
And I think another comment I'd make around this, which can be, I think, controversial for some bookkeepers when we talk about keeping track of your time and where you are spending your time. And I think this is what Peter's saying in this. He says, if you don't know where you want to spend your time, you won't know where you don't want to spend it. But you need to know where you are spending your time. And I'm not talking about charging an hourly rate for clients, but in a lot of mentoring I do for bookkeepers, and they say, I haven't got time to do what I need to do to grow my business, you know, whatever that is, implement systems, get out there and do your marketing. And I come back with, well, do you track where you are actually spending? Because we've all got the same amount of time. We've all got a finite amount of time. If you don't track where you're spending your time during the day, then how are you going to be able to make informed decisions about whether that is the best use of the finite amount of time that you've got? And I liken this actually with budgeting, really, because if you are saving up for a holiday or a house or a car or some major purchase, or even a smaller purchase, then you budget for that. Because everyone's got this amount of money that they bring home every week that they are budgeting for. That doesn't take into account the growth of your business or whatever, but you say, this is what I've currently got, so I want to save up for a holiday or a car by the end of this year or the end of whatever it is. So given the number of weeks that I've got, I'm going to have to put aside out of my current income, because it's not pretend, it's out of my actual income, I've got to put aside into another bank account X amount of dollars to save up for this thing. Then, because you've made that decision and you've set up this bank account and you've transferred the money over, when you go to the shops and you look at a new dress or you look at something and you go, oh my goodness, I would love to have that. But then you think about, hang on, if I buy that, then next month I'm not going to be able to afford to put aside this money to buy the thing that I really want. So it's the same, I think, with time. If you don't track where you're spending your time, then how are you going to make other decisions about where is it best to spend your time? And once you're clear about how much time you've got, we've all got a finite amount of time, how much time you've got and what you are saying yes to, then it makes it much easier to say no to things that are actually going to use up that time that is going to impact you down the track. It means that you're spending time now that you really want to save up to spend on something that's in the future. So I really encourage you to be tracking, having a way to track where you are spending your time. And it's a great tool to use. It really has provided the licensees and other bookkeepers that I've mentored epiphanies about, I didn't realize I was spending this much time on Facebook or social media or, you know, doing something else that ultimately is not going to get my business to grow. So, okay, now I'm going to make a different decision about where I'm spending my time.
That's a great analogy, and it's also can be broken into I can choose to spend my time on this work that I don't like to do, or these clients that don't appreciate me and take up a lot of my time, or I could choose to drop them so that I have got more time to work on my advisory or the work that I want to do, or develop my business or find the clients that I want. So using that same analogy around, you know, how we're using their time, we can also use it in choosing our clients. Like, you know, whatever we're wanting to spend our time on, then focus on that, move towards moving your time over to that and saying no to the clients that don't fit with that, the work that doesn't fit with that. and the time allocation that doesn't fit with that. So it's making that leadership choice, I think. Now, Diane has mentioned on Facebook that she gets overwhelmed. She's got an overwhelmed feeling with clients that don't get what we do and take some things and the time some things take. So I guess that is around the education to the clients. You've got to sit down and let them know all of the things that we do for them. So it's educating them and setting boundaries around, well, these are the things, and you might not break it down into timesheets and activities, but it's like, to do a BAS, this is the checklist that I need to follow to do your BAS. And, you know, this is the education that I need to be able to learn how to perform these, you know, checklists and these tasks. So if you are following through with that and thinking, well, that client is not worth me keeping, or it's a bad client, or I want to replace it, then if they're not going to appreciate you, if you're unable to educate them and for them to understand, then again, maybe they're not your ideal client and that you are wanting to replace them. But that particular feeling that you've got there is a communication with your client, I think.
And I remember it's brought back a memory of when Peter Cook and I used to do the road shows where we would travel around Australia and deliver the 7 secrets of growing your bookkeeping business, or the bookkeeping business boardroom. And it would come up with this, someone would always bring up this problem. My clients don't value me. And how do you explain that? And I remember Pete saying, if your clients don't understand what you do or don't value you, then that's actually your problem. It's not theirs. It's, as you said, Katrina, it's how have you communicated that? Do you communicate with your clients? And when you are talking about valuing, if you look at Ron Baker, implementing value pricing, the whole psychology around the sales conversation is articulating what your value is. It's not that you do a bank reconciliation. It's not that you do a BAS. It's what that does. You know, we do bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is the tool or the vehicle that we use to empower business owners around their finances. How do you explain to your clients about how that happens? How do you convert the bookkeeping that you do and explain that to the client about what benefits that is to them? You're empowering them around your finances. They can sleep easier at night. They don't really care about the bookkeeping as such. The bookkeepers are the only people that care about bookkeeping. So you've got to get into your client's world and think about it. Okay, from their perspective, what have I done for them that has now transformed their world, has given them the freedom to be able to grow their business without the constraints of worrying about the ATO on their back. You do a cash flow analysis. They've got the money to pay their bills. It's everything that you do, everything that every bookkeeper does empowers your clients around their finances. The blockage is the way we articulate that with our clients. And that is something that you need to practice and learn and think about what you're doing in terms of the benefits to the client rather than the actual task that you're completing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, the next practice in helping you say no is be appreciative. And Deb, you had a wonderful story around, you know, being appreciative around the treasurer, which, you know, it's understanding that the request, understanding that people are asking you to do things. So you're valuing that you're being asked to do things and being appreciative around that. So did you want to share that story?
Yes, I was speaking to a bookkeeper who said, you know, she was asked by one of her, you know, favorite charities. I can't remember, doesn't matter what it was, but something that was really close to her heart. And she was involved in the charity and helped with fundraising and do all that. And someone on the board asked her if she would be the treasurer. And because she had done that first step of know your no, your NO, then she went away and spoke to her husband about it, and knew that, like, there was a part of her that thought, oh, I can't say no to this. You know, it's my favorite charity. They need me. There's no one else that can actually do this job. I know I can do it. But because she knew she'd gone through that process of knowing where she wanted to spend her time, she realized that this was actually going to be a conflict with that, even though she loved the charity but in the capacity of treasurer, that would be too much for her. She realized it would impact on other parts of her will, because she knew what her no was. She'd been through that process. So she, rather than saying, oh no, I don't have the time for that, she went back to the person that asked her and thanked her for actually thinking of her. She said, it's such a privilege that you would think of asking me. I do really appreciate that. I've made a decision, however, to not accept that, and then explained the why. But it completely changed. Rather than saying, no, I haven't got time for that, and then the person feeling bad and everyone feeling bad, she actually expressed appreciation for even being considered, which was an honor to be considered. And the person that she explained that to went away with a completely different feeling about it. She completely understood, and she was probably in some ways thinking, I wished I'd have made that decision before I decided to volunteer to go on to the board.
And the next point is around saying no to the request and not the person. So
Yes.
you are not declining the person or rejecting the person that is asking you of the request. And it's very similar to, you know, children's behavior. It's not the child, it's not the bad child, it's the bad child's or the child's bad behavior. So it's a similar type of thing, is, you know, you are saying no to the request. So it's you know, that action, you are not taking on that action, but you still may value the person or respect the person. You are not. So I think this helps us be a little bit more unemotional to the no. It takes that, I'm disappointing the person, you know, I'm rejecting the favor that they're asking or whatever, but it's more around, I just can't take that action on. So it's a different mindset, I think.
Yeah, and professionally, if you think about, and this is a very common thing that I hear from bookkeepers, and I experienced it myself, when you get a referral from an accountant, you are overly keen to give a good impression, especially the first time an accountant refers business to you. But typically what happens, accountants actually don't think, I wonder if Debbie would appreciate this client. I wonder if it's one of her A clients, or he just goes, great, I've got a bookkeeper, Debbie will look after it for you. And Debbie, here's a referral to this client. And I go, okay, yes, okay, I can do that. I'll do that. And all my selection process goes out the window, because I want to impress this accountant. And what if the worst thing happened? What if I actually let him down? And I experience this myself where, and I've heard it many times with bookkeepers who say, the way I explain it is, if an accountant refers a client to you, thank them very much for the referral, and you'll arrange a time to meet with them. And when you do, stick to your selection criteria, your selection process. And if the client is not a right fit for you, rather than feeling all guilty about it, you go back to the accountant and say, thank you so much for that referral. I really am thrilled that you thought of me. However, I've decided not to go ahead with this client, and this is the reason why, or these are the reasons why. So, and let me then explain to you what is a good referral. That's what I ended up coming back to the accountant and explaining what a good referral is for me. And the number one thing for me was that the clients were proactive about their bookkeeping. I could deal with other behavioural things, but if they didn't care, and I said before, most people don't care, but you want them to care enough about their bookkeeping, particularly at the start, so that they will cooperate with you and give you the information that you need. But don't be afraid to, if someone refers a client that either really isn't an ideal client or not a good referral, or you may even take them on and then find 3 months later, this is a nightmare, I want to sack them, then just go back quite honestly to the person, whether it's an accountant or a friend or whatever, thank them for that referral, but just explain the reason why you didn't go ahead. And most people will understand that. But just be honest with them. Don't be fearful that you have to take on every client.
Mm. And I think the accountant would be, or the referee would be respectful of that.
Yeah.
Respectful of that you are trying to, build the business of your business model, of your choices, and not have to just take everything on. So they're thinking that you have got a professional business. You know your vision, you know your purpose, you know your client base. So they would be respectful of you having a very professional business hat on to build your business that you want to build, and that those particular clients that you are saying no to are not part of that business model. So I think that trumps you saying you feeling guilty about saying no to an accountant, in particular, because accountants could pass on a lot of referrals. I know one of our licensees was actually speaking to me about this before, and the accountant wasn't taking the clients on as tax work, but they were still referring the bookkeeping work to the licensee. And the licensee was having this quandary, do I take them because the accountant's referring, even though the accountant has identified they're not ideal clients? So we are each in our own business decisions, and we can choose for ourselves what our business is going to be, looking like, and, what's the model that we are building. We don't need to be swayed just for personal reasons.
Absolutely.
The next practical solution is around the explaining why. So I think we might have already covered off on that, Deb. You'd already spoken about giving them the reasons why, and you don't need to go into the particulars of the reason why. In some instances, you might not even need to say, have a discussion about the why, because it's your choice. But it would usually be around you being busy servicing your current clients, or that they just don't meet the criteria of what you require.
Well, and I think it's a great opportunity to also explain what your systems and processes are. So some clients, if you say you meet with a new client, we were talking before, that you've got your onboarding process. You set up HubDoc or Receipt Bank, they go on direct debit. This is what it's the fixed fee or whatever the thing is. And some clients will actually say no, as Katrina said before. Some clients will say, well, no, I'm not going on direct debit because I don't know if I'll have the money in the bank. Or they'll say, I don't want to do Receipt Bank because I don't want you to cite all the invoices. I just want you to do it like this. And I think, Katrina, you mentioned earlier about they will respect you for that. You are actually running a professional business, and you have standards, and you have this onboarding process. And what happened was, for this particular client, he didn't want to go on direct debit. He didn't want to do Receipt Bank, and he wasn't prepared to follow the systems that I had in place. And that, I know from my experience, that might be, that's going to go wrong. It's going to go badly. And rather than get started with him, knowing that I'm just trying to please you, but I really feel that this isn't a right fit. I know what works in my business. I know what my business model is, and this works for all my clients, but they need to be willing to work that. And I'm not prepared to spend time on people who are not prepared to work with me. And I think there wouldn't be an accountant that would think badly of you. In fact, they would probably be thinking I should have the same kind of standards when taking on new clients, and start saying no to some of these rats and mice people.
Melinda, you've come off mute. Did you have a comment?
No, I thought that was really a really good point, that, when you're meeting with a new client and you just let them know this is how we do everything. And it's almost like you can I don't know what that old expression is, you know, you can cut them off at the pass before they come on board, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're just not getting anything to me, and I keep chasing them. And if they'd have agreed to that, then they know what to expect, and you can sort of whittle that out before they come on board and become a pain.
Yeah, exactly. It's identifying that and saying no right up front, and if you know they're not going to abide, well then you know that you're dodging a bullet there. Yeah, exactly. So the next point is around being as resolute as the clients are being pushy. So if you have clients or prospects that are really pushy about what they need and what they want, and that they want you and they won't let you say no, but please, 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 stand your ground. It's, you know, being understanding the strength of your knowing you know, and pushing back in respectfully, you know, professionally, and that they will respect you for that. They you know, that then you're not going to be a pushover, so they'll respect, you know, that you're not a pushover. And often you'll find businesses want to be part of your business, like be, you know, part of your client base, because they respect that the way you operate. Like if you are operating like this for your own business and you are pushing this type of behavior for your clients, I need to be pulled in line. I think I'm going to respect how you're going to do that. Like you're going to do it in a professional, you know, respectful way. I want to join you because I think I can learn from you. So I think there's, you know, good examples there of how that can help us as well.
Yeah, and that prospect that I spoke about earlier, about who insisted that I work over the weekend because it was now her priority, and I respectfully insisted that I was not going to work on the weekend. She actually left. So you've got to be prepared for that as well. You stand your ground. The only thing that you will lose is a client that's going to give you a world of pain. What you gain is far more than that. You've gained your dignity because you've been firm about what is, you've made the decision, no, I'm not working on weekends, and you've been firm to that. So you can walk away with your head held high, and that client, I dodged a bullet. I have no doubt in my mind that I dodged a bullet. It wouldn't have been that weekend. It would have been every other weekend, and it would have been nights, and it would have been early mornings and all of that until I satisfied her needs, and then she would have complained about something anyway after that. So when you do push back and respectfully say no, because you've already worked out your no, what you know and what your boundaries are, then the client might decide to go somewhere else. And I love the saying that I created years ago, that I suggest you find another bookkeeper who can better service your needs and is prepared to work nights and weekends as well. So stand your ground, but you've got to do the groundwork first. You've got to find out what you know is and what your boundaries are. And then some of it may also require going back to existing clients and revisiting your original engagement as well to set some clear boundaries.
Yeah, I love that phrase where you do let them know that go find another bookkeeper that might service them better or create their needs. So it is an opportunity for the client to say, well, hold on, I think I might still join you, but let me know what I need to do. Like, you know, then I'll get myself, because I just thought this was the way. I just thought I'd turn up with my paperwork when I want to, or I'll just pay you when I want to, or, you know, I just won't have paperwork because that's the way that I've always operated. But if you're saying you need this, this, and this, I think, well, that's going to help my business. So I'm actually going to be on board with that. So it's another great example of not having to cower to how they operate. It's being strong and putting in your own boundaries and your own actions with that. When you were saying, Deb, about visiting existing clients as well, I'm working with a licensee at the moment to put her clients on direct debit. And, you know, for a long time it's been no, they won't do it. They won't want to be told when to pay. They won't want to be controlled in full stop. And, what is the benefit to them to be on direct debit? Like, it's having that conversation around, to your client about, well, direct debit's going to help me because I know that I'm going to get paid within 7 days, but what's the benefit to you? And again, we had this discussion about, well, you are building a efficient, automated, professional business. They're going to respect that. We all know that we're getting into the digital world. A lot of people are putting on direct debits and fixed fees. You're paying your accountant in that way. You're paying your gym membership. You're paying your Xero membership or your software membership that way. It's just the way the world is going. Businesses are going. Takes away all that admin work for me, so I can work on improving our service and our business and our education. So it's, they will get that story. They'll understand that it's for the benefit of businesses. And, you could also offer that you would also help them automate their business or find some efficiencies in their business. What can we do to help you? You'll find that clients will also want their own direct debit situation for their clients. So it's not just, oh no, that's my clients won't accept that. They like to pay me at 30 days or the end of month or, when they've got money. We don't have to accept that.
Yeah, and this is all about what's going on up here.
Mm.
And the interesting thing is that when I set up direct debits 2003, I was going through the same angst and torment with Peter Cook when he was saying you need to set up everyone on direct debits. You can't, you won't be able to pay your staff. How about that? You won't be able to pay your staff if you don't know that you're going to get the money in beforehand so that you can pay your staff. It's one thing when you're on your own, it's still not a good thing, but you can kind of pay Peter, borrow from Peter to pay Paul and move your money around and things like that. But when you've got staff, you've got a hard stop of, I've got to pay them on this day. So again, I think you need to, what I was worried about, and I'm sure that licensee has probably got the same concerns, is what will they think? Will they get angry? Will they decide not to go ahead? Will they sack me because of all of this? That's all the stuff that's going on up here. So, but when he talks about, Peter was saying about being firm, and so what I realized was that I can't grow a profitable bookkeeping business to the scale that I wanted to if I don't put my clients on direct debit. So you're either not going to grow your business and just let them pay you when you want, or are you committed to growing your business and achieving the vision that I had? And so therefore you've got to push through some pain, and you've got to re-educate some of the legacy clients who you didn't set the standards, you didn't set things up the way you're doing it from today. And that's hard work. That took me 12 months to really work through each of my clients, because there was a lot of them, and have a different conversation, get a new engagement letter signed, put them on direct debit. It was excruciating. So, do work from now, be firm about what it is that you stand for, and the way you're going to run your business professionally. So that's what I referred to before. Putting them on direct debits is about running your business professionally. If your client says, no, I'm not going to do that, then you can't run your business professionally. And if the client doesn't want to come, you don't want to lose them, but I've got these standards. It's HubDoc, it's Receipt Bank, it's da-da-da, all your tech stack, and you're signing up for all these things. Look, I understand if you don't want to do that, but this is the line in the sand. Then I suggest you find another bookkeeper who can better service your needs, because this is it for me, and I do it respectfully but professionally.
It's your boundary. It's just, you know, one of the criterias. Helen, I'm wondering if you would like to come off mute and talk about how you're experiencing saying no.
I was just putting something in the chat, but I didn't get a chance. When we first see a client, we always, I make it clear from the phone call meeting that we need to meet with them so that I can interview them, basically. And when I'm in that meeting, not only is it finding out about them, but then I also, that's when I lay all the rules out. I say, this is how we work. This is how we operate. Our fees are all up front. Everything, you know, it's all done by direct debit. Everything's in a proposal. So there's no surprises when I leave that meeting. They already know from the get-go. So, and, you know, generally you get clients that are, oh, yeah, that sounds good, that sounds good. Some of them love it because they want to be streamlined, you know. So if I'm going to help them implement a payment plan, I need to be using it in my own business. So I feel that they expect that. You know, if I'm going to help them with cash flow, I can't have a cash flow issue. That's how I've always looked at that too. So it's not, you know, they know everything that's coming because we lay it out. 3 months into it, we get an idea of, no, they're not going to do what we want. They're not uploading receipts. So I go back to them and have the conversation and say, remember, you agreed to do this. So we agreed to do that and we're doing it, but you're not holding up your end of the bargain. So it's just, I think, that communication. I wouldn't just straight away disregard them and say, oh, they're deadwood, I've got to get rid of them. I'll give them a choice. If it gets to a point where they're just not playing our game the way we want to play it, then we do want to get rid of them. The first thing I would do is have that conversation again and explain, because of what they're not proactive, it's costing us a lot more. So one, the price goes up. If they accept it, great to us. It goes up ridiculously. And if they do accept it, yeah, that's a good thing. If they don't, that was our intention anyway, to literally get rid of them. So I sort of try and lay that out at the start with the rules. I just find it easier than when you first meet them, they're a new client. With existing clients, we just sold the idea that their cash flow, they're going to know exactly what they're billed every month. There's no surprises. They'll be able to budget for that. It will incorporate all our end of year, all this, so no fluctuating bills. I did bring in towards the end the benefit to us. Yeah, I'll cut down on my admin time, so I'll keep my prices down. So
yeah, and
it was easy to sell it that way.
Awesome. It's important to have it in your engagement letter as well, as you mentioned. Like the Pure Bookkeeping engagement letter does set it up with, you know, what are the client's responsibilities and what are our responsibilities. So it's really set from the start. So you do get that opportunity then to go back 3 months later and say you are not holding up your end of the bargain of what the engagement letter sets out. So that's a, you know, great example.
We do our proposals after our initial meeting, obviously, because then we know price and everything. But I take a draft copy of our terms and conditions. So in that first meeting, I get to show them the proposal they're going to receive, what it looks like, what it's all about, where their fees will be, you know, sitting, and our terms. So I sort of go through those terms with them. So I use the Pure Bookkeeping terms, which I've obviously customized. You know, so yeah, it's all there. So we pretty much read it together, so to speak. You know, so when they do get the proposal, they don't, you know, a lot of people want to do it on their phone and they're like, oh, I didn't read your terms. And I think, well, we went through them, so that's fine. So I find that a lot easier to have that conversation and show them what paperwork they're going to receive from us.
Yeah, that's excellent. Good, thank you for sharing. I'm curious to know if there was a time where you weren't saying no. Was there a time in your business earlier on where you were saying yes to everybody? Yeah, and then at what point, what was the turning point for you to then change that around?
It was an accountant, a new accountant recommended by an accountant who has given us a lot of business. And you get a new accountant on board and you think, great, and it was, you know, he's in the same building and I'll be able to see both accountants at the same time, and it all sounded great. It was a schmozzle. And it still is a schmozzle that I'm still working through. Sadly, his clients are quite nice. I like the clients. I just don't like dealing with the accountant. It's just, yeah, so
it's getting to that pain.
Yeah,
you know,
and I've learnt my lesson. As I said, I'm happy with the clients he's referred, and a lot of them we are still streamlining, but they're more than happy with what they're getting. The value of what we're doing for them is beyond what they've seen before. There was an accountant last week I spoke to who saw our work for the first time, and, you know, through the would you be open to new clients and everything else. So I did give her that speech, you know, I'd more than be happy to, you know, meet with your clients and take more work on. But I did say to her that we can't promise that we will be able to take them all on. We have to ensure they suit our business model. And the minute she heard that, she was, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And so it sort of, as Debbie said, we were more professional by saying, yes, we would like to meet with them, we will consider them, but we may not take them on. So
yeah, love it. And it's I guess it's one of the reasons why Deb and I do this, and why Deb also created the pure bookkeeping system, so that bookkeepers can learn from our experiences and others that join in on this conversation, which is awesome, like Helen shared, to, you know, where you've got to get to the pain before you change it. But if we can explain to you what's going to happen before you get to that pain, and you change quicker or you realize quicker, and that's what we're here for, is to help you build, you know, stronger businesses, really fast track your results a lot faster than doing it yourself, being out there alone, wondering what are other people doing, how do you make this better. So that, you know, that's, you know, one of our big purposes is bringing these type of forums to the industry, so that we can just help others make their lives better, you know, create better businesses quicker. So thanks for sharing, Helen. I always love to hear the pain story before the good story, and realize that it can get better, it can change. So I love that. Now, we're not too far at the end of the session, but there was just a few more on the 9 practical steps for being able to say no. And the next one was around practicing. So I guess this one is pretty basic, pretty simple. It is practicing your no. So you might practice it on, you know, you might choose who to practice it on. Somebody that is a little bit easier, or that you feel a little bit more comfortable to do so. But it's like practicing a muscle, isn't it, Deb? It's just, you know, keep saying no, getting feedback, getting, you know, what's happening to your body when you say no, you know, understanding your gut feeling, you know, just, you know, those type of you know, feelings that you're experiencing.
Yes, and I see when what Peter's saying in his article, that to do it in easy, low risk situations. He actually gives an example of saying no when a waiter offers you dessert. I'm not sure maybe I should say no to someone if a waiter offered me another glass of wine or something. But I think the other thought that came, I get what he's saying with this point. It's actually doing it out aloud. So it's different when you imagine things in your head about, oh yeah, I could say no to this and I could say no to this. But when you actually say it out aloud, it feels a bit weird and a bit scary, and you're dealing with the emotions of that, and then practicing, which is what he's talking about, practicing what you say to the other person when they go, oh, really? You're saying, you know, that sort of thing. So, and what comes to mind is James Clear, Atomic Habits. He always talks about the 1%. Just make 1% little change to the habits that you want to develop, and the habits that the bad habits that you want to get rid of, and it will make an exponential difference down the track. So when you are practicing, do it in little bits and be gentle on yourself, and learn from what you're hearing and how you're responding, and then decide, okay, well, next time I probably won't go at it so hard. I'll go at it a bit differently. But doing it out aloud, I think, is a really important step.
Yeah, definitely. And we won't have time to go through the next three, but I think that the one that I'd like to bring up is being prepared to miss out. I think, you know, even though, you know, we're sometimes we can be people pleasers, but we also can be, I don't want to miss out on the opportunity, or miss out on working with that client, or miss out on that income, miss out on that work. It's like, yes, I've got to say yes because I want to do it. So it's okay to miss out on certain opportunities that are not the right fit, they're not going to fit in your business model, because you are allowing other opportunities to come through the door. So it's that trade-off of, it's okay to say no for this one because something else is going to come through the door that's right. And
I was going to say, remember that we've all got this finite amount of time. So if you say no to an opportunity, that means you're making yourself more available to do stuff that's actually aligned with where you want to spend your time. And I know, Helen, I've referred to, I love what you talk about all the time when you're choosing a client, when the very first time you meet them, Helen says, do I want to spend time with you? Because if I spend time with you, that means I'm not spending time with my family, with my kids, or whatever else that's really important to you. So are you good enough? Do you qualify to use up my finite amount of time that I've got every day? And do I want to spend time with you? Do you deserve that, really? And I love that from Helen.
I don't say that to the client, everyone.
No.
I say that in my
head. That's awesome. Thank you.
Worth it, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, I think we went through a lot of great topics and sections, and, you know, practical solutions on how to say no, when to say no, muscle up, plan beforehand, know you know, all of those things that we've talked about today. I think it's been a very awesome and educating session. So I hope you all did get a lot out of it. Love to hear on the Facebook group what's your main takeout. If you want to jump onto the Facebook group and give us what your main takeaway is for today, would really appreciate that. And look forward to seeing you next week. So bye for now. See you around the community.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.